In the previous video, we had a look at a few examples of changes. Can you recall the examples? In the first set of examples, we saw that ice can be converted into water and water can be converted back into ice. Similarly, we can iron wrinkled clothes to make them crisp again. And what about wet clay articles? These can be remolded into any other shape that we desire. The second set of examples we saw was that of toothpaste, flowing water, an omelette and bread. Toothpaste once poured out of the tube cannot be put back in it. The water flowing from a tap cannot get back into the tap. Similarly, an omelette once made, it cannot be converted into an egg again. And what about the bread? Yes, once the bread is baked, we cannot turn it back into dough. Can you tell me what the difference between these two sets of examples is? In the first set of examples, all the changes were reversible. That means you can get the objects back in the same form as they were before the change could occur. So this type of changes are called reversible changes. In simple terms, changes that can be reversed are reversible changes. There are many such examples of reversible changes that we see in our daily lives. What happens when we blow air into a balloon? It fills up completely with air. And what happens when you release it? All the air escapes, leaving the balloon in its original deflated shape and size. This is an example of reversible change. Now let's talk about the next category of changes. If the same balloon filled with air is pricked, then instead of the air escaping slowly from it, the balloon bursts. And once this happens, the balloon cannot be returned to its original form. The pieces of the balloons cannot be joined to get the complete structure as the one before. This type of change is called an irreversible change. Once it occurs, it cannot be reversed back. In the second set of our examples, we found all the changes were irreversible. The toothpaste cannot be put back into the tube. Similarly, the water flowing from the tap cannot be put back in it. And what about the omelette then? Well, once it's cooked, we cannot really expect it to become an egg again. And lastly, the dough once baked gives us bread which cannot be converted back into the dough. These are all the changes which cannot be reversed. Now to understand both these types, let us look at some simple examples. We make plain models out of paper by folding it. We can unfold the paper and get the original single paper piece again. Now we cut the same piece of paper in the shape of an airplane. Is it possible to stick the cut part back and get a single piece of paper? Absolutely not. So this is the example of irreversible change. Let us take one more example. We must have seen Mum kneading the dough for meals. If we try and make balls out of it, then they can be rolled to form circular shapes. However, if the shape is not the way you want, you can knead it again and roll it till a perfect circle is formed. This is an example of a reversible change. Now imagine that you roast the circular piece on a frying pan. It will obviously get cooked, but somehow it gets overheated and chars a bit. Can we reduce the amount burnt? Can we cook it to perfection? No, once it's slightly burnt, it cannot be brought back to the desired form. This is an example of irreversible change. But the dough was just the same. Then what were the factors which caused the changes to be reversible or irreversible? Here it was temperature that decided the type of change. With an increase in temperature, the dough changed. However, even on decreasing the temperature, the changes could not be reversed. Same holds true in case of milk changing to yogurt. Here, the factor responsible for bringing about the change is not only the temperature, it's basically the substance added to milk. Yes, we add very little amount of yogurt to the warm milk and allow it to settle down. Once the curd is added, the process of change begins and the milk gets converted. So here, it's the substance added which brings about the change. Similarly, there are many factors which can bring about changes in various substances. These changes can be both reversible and irreversible.